We have a loaded show coming at you at today's edition of the Bills Breakdown by Chat Sports. As a couple Bills roster moves have been made and some activations from suspension are coming as well. We'll get some injury updates from Week 6, some guys week to week, some guys day to day, per Sean McDermott, and then some more news from the head coach as far as what the Bills are going to do here heading into the bye week and what changes they will make and what changes they are not making as well. Let's hop right into this. Bills roster moves that have been made. Released from the practice squad was Jalen Kimber. He was a practice squad addition late in the offseason, back in late August, and was released in early September, and then was brought back, and then has been released here once again. No stats recorded, has not played in any 53, or has not been elevated to any 53-man rosters here. So, best wishes to Jalen Kimber. We'll see if he gets added to the practice squad. Again, a player who we could see added to the practice squad again, Jimmy Ciarlo, who appeared in one game this year, was elevated to the 53-man roster, signed to the 53, not just a practice squad elevation. Now they just released him. But the expectation is that he is going to be back added to the practice squad. John Wowo here saying, for those wondering, the plan is to have linebacker Jimmy Ciarlo rejoin the Bills practice squad should he clear waivers. Now, that is a big if. He could end up getting signed or picked up by another team here. But if he were to be signed off waivers, it would be added to a team's 53. So not exactly holding my breath on that. Looks like Jimmy Ciarlo will be back here on the 53-man roster. Thought he made a couple of nice plays, but again, like the Bills linebacker core is pretty depleted right now, so we could see him potentially back on the active roster at some point this season. Now, as far as other releases I would consider making here in the bye week, I know they're probably not going to happen, but I would cut Taylor Rapp. I would cut Trey White. There's no use in having them out on the football field anymore. I know the secondary is probably pretty thin. You got Damar Hamlin on IR. You got cornerbacks banged up. Max Hairston still on IR, so you probably can't make these moves as it stands right now. But they have been so unproductive for the Bills, and honestly, negatively productive that I would just cut ties. They can't star on this team anymore. Now, as far as where the Bills stand roster availability-wise, Joe Buscaglia came in with this. As far as when they waived Jimmy Ciarlo, and this was also before he reported that they released Jalen Kimber, so there could actually be one extra open roster spot here. But with TJ Sanders and Max Hairston still on IR, excuse me, Damar Hamlin on IR, the Bills now have, I believe, 49 of 53 roster spots filled. Now, they are going to have two players coming back from suspension here, Larry Ogunjobi and Michael Hoecht, so that's going to fill two spots, but they will still have maybe two more moves to make here to fill out a full 53. Michael Hoecht and Larry Ogunjobi, are they the reinforcements that the Bills need here? I think they could be, man. I mean, Hoecht it was very productive as a rotational edge for the Los Angeles Rams last year. Had 4 tackles for loss, 3 sacks, 30 pressures. But honestly, Hoecht really gets his money made in the run game. He's a really good run defender, had 24 stops at the line of scrimmage last season. And then Larry Ogunjobi is that big boy in the middle. 5 tackles for loss for him. These guys also made plays, man. Hoecht had 2 forced fumbles. Larry Ogunjobi had 3 in 2024. So I'm excited for these guys to bring some additional depth with the Bills, having some injuries, kind of pop up on the defensive line as well. Unfortunately for these reinforcements coming in for Buffalo, I would have rather, had some guys coming off suspension in the secondary or in the linebacker room or the safety spot, because the Bills' defensive line is probably their best unit on that defense as it stands right now. Ed Oliver's great. Bose has been playing well. Epinesa has been producing. Greg Rousseau is up and down. But as far as the Bills' defense, it's pretty mediocre. As it stands right now, the D-line is the best unit. But it's good to see some additional depth coming out there because they have some injuries especially on the interior as well. But as far as these two guys that are coming back to the Buffalo Bills, or I guess debuting with the Buffalo Bills, who are you more excited to see? Michael Hoecht on the edge or Larry Ogunjobi in the middle there? Type 55 for Michael Hoecht, type 99, their jersey number here for Larry Ogunjobi. Who are you most excited to see debut with Buffalo after the bye week? Next, we're going to get into some injury updates and some news from Sean McDermott as far as what the Bills are doing here after 2 straight losses to the Pats and the Falcons. That around the corner. First, I got to tell you guys about our sponsor, though, as this episode is brought to you by PrizePicks. You and I make decisions every single day, but on PrizePicks, being right can get you paid. It actually can get you up to 2,000 times your money in one lineup watching your Buffalo Bills this season because it's daily fantasy made easy. It's the best daily fantasy sports app in the game. All you guys got to do is pick a lineup of 2 to 6 players and just pick more or less on their projected stats. But a lot of daily fantasy sports apps offer those same features. PrizePicks ups the ante, and they offer the best features in the game, like Stacks, the only daily fantasy sports app to do so. If you want to add Josh Allen passing yards, Josh Allen rush yards, and Josh Allen touchdowns into your lineup all at the same time, you can do so only on PrizePicks. If you want to see my lineup for the upcoming Thursday Night Football game, because the Bills are not playing this week. I got DK Metcalf more than his receiving yards total. I got Jamar Chase more than his receiving yards total. I'm going with the alphas in this one. And then Jalen Warren more than 50.5 rush yards. That Bengals run defense is atrocious. You can take my picks or fade them. Just do it at PrizePicks. Download the app today and use our code CLNS, like you see in the bottom right of your screen, for a special offer of $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS when you download PrizePicks for $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, it's good to be right. All right, man, let's get into it because it's a laundry list of names. The Bills have been underperforming, but I guess there's at least a little bit of an excuse here when it comes to how banged up this team really is. Multiple multi-week injuries have already been sustained to starting players on both offense and defense, and the Bills have not been 100% healthy really once so far this season. Now, as far as some new week-to-week injuries go, DaQuan Jones got hurt in pre-game warm-ups, popped his calf, according to Sean McDermott, so he will be week-to-week here. Hopefully, it's only maybe a 1 to 2 week injury. With the Bills having the bye, this is awesome. Recovery time for these two guys to rest up and be able to get back. Josh Palmer suffered what is all in likelihood a high ankle sprain against the Atlanta Falcons early on in that one. He was getting off to his best start so far this season, had a 45-yard grab, but he will be week-to-week here with an ankle injury. I don't know if we can expect him to be ready to go for Week 8 against Carolina. Now, as far as some guys who are day-to-day goes, Dalton Kincaid with the oblique injury spent the entire practice week leading up to Atlanta with a red knot contact jersey on, was not able to go, and that was really unfortunate for the Bills because they could not separate. Kincaid has been basically their best separator against man coverage or really at all this season, so they're going to need him back in the lineup ASAP. Terrel Bernard going down with that ankle. He's day-to-day as well. He was not able to come back in that game against Atlanta, and that ended up kind of hurting the Bills because Shaq Thompson ends up dropping a would-be pick six that I think Terrel Bernard would have ended up grabbing, as evidenced by his playmaking abilities. So it's unfortunate that he wasn't able to go, but again, nice recovery time here. Hopefully Bernard is able to go here. That was a re-aggravation of an ankle that he's had multiple injuries to so far in his career. Curtis Samuel is still on the day-to-day injury list here with the neck and the ribs. I would trade Curtis Samuel if it could, but the cap number is so big where it doesn't really make sense for a lot of teams. He just is not that effective on this Bills roster, and it's just another example of Brandon Beane paying too much for mediocre-level skill position players. Matt Milano still dealing with that pectoral injury. He's day-to-day. This is frustrating with Milano. This is going to be his last year with the Bills, and it's just unfortunate that he continues to be sidelined here with just multiple banged-up injuries. Now, as far as probably the Bills' white whale on the injury report here. Max Hairston, still on IR, but could he be coming off? Sean McDermott said that there is, quote, a chance that the 21-day practice window is opened after the bye, and that's kind of been where we've all been theorizing it, right? He suffered that strained LCL in camp, and that's an injury that you kind of have to take a lot of caution with. High risk of re-aggravation and re-injury there, and setbacks, and there hasn't been any just yet, so the Bills have done a good job taking their time here with Hairston. And now, speaking of time, he's missed a lot of practice time. McDermott did say you have to manage expectations, and we have to be realistic with how much practice time he missed. And I've been telling you guys that the whole time. Now, as far as what a return for Hairston looks like here, we brought up this photo from Greg Cover One a couple of weeks ago, and it's looking more and more likely that this is going to be the case. So by my count, the week leading up to Week 8 is going to be when he gets activated with the 21-day window. The week leading up to Week 10 is when we could see the 3 weeks kind of be finished there. And if they use all 3 weeks, he'd be activated for Week 10 against Miami on November 9th, with the activation happening the day before on the 8th. 20 days into the 21-day window before having to declare him out for the year. So we could be getting Max Hairston here in about 3 weeks. 2 more game actions for the Bills until we see him on the field, but who knows how much he will actually end up playing, with McDermott probably not being super confident with how much time he's missed. Regardless, manifest the good vibes. The Bills are super banged up right now. If you want the Bills to get healthy during the bye week, show me. Go down below, smash the thumbs up icon, send the good vibes to the Bills so they can recover quick. Now to close out today's show with some major news from Sean McDermott. This is one that people are probably, I don't know, are they upset about it? Maybe, but McDermott did say he's not considering taking the defensive play calling away from Bobby Babich. Said they did some good things in the second half, and I can kind of get behind him on that. They did get multiple stops. They held the Atlanta Falcons to 3 points in that second half, even though they were kind of getting bullied by Bijan Robinson the whole game. But we'll see if that ends up sticking as the rest of the season goes along, because this Bills defense is just it's pedestrian, for lack of a better word. Now, he did say, as far as the offensive side of things goes, he thought it was too hard for Josh Allen against Atlanta in terms of the receivers not being able to get open, and he said that should never be the case. It should never be that hard for Josh Allen to be able to, move the ball down the field with the receiving talent that they have. So could that be, a signal that they're looking for a trade at the wide receiver spot? I think there's absolutely a chance that goes down. As far as the decision-making for Joe Brady, again, said about that third down jet sweep to Elijah Moore, that were better than that. And it seemed like a little bit of a jab at Joe Brady, considering he did that for the second straight week, running the jet sweep to Dawson Knox that resulted in a fumble. The same thing happened, fumble with Elijah Moore this time. On 3rd and 4th and 1, they're just getting too cute on offense. We'll see if they end up, getting rid of those types of plays as the season goes along. And speaking of the money downs for the Buffalo Bills, James Cook has not been in on a lot of those money downs, especially some key ones during Atlanta when he was kind of in a groove. And Sean McDermott said to the reporter who asked about it, he said, it's a good point. We will look at James Cook being in on those situations because you probably should have your best players out there on the football field. And then another quote from McDermott that we talked about in yesterday's video, he said, we've got to start from ground zero and figure this thing out. What does that mean? I'm not so sure, but I really do believe that a trade could be in the works here for your Bills very, very soon. Now, last order of business here, Joe Brady, now the betting favorite per the people out west to be the Penn State head coach. Now, is that just rumors and nonsense? Probably, but definitely something to note here as they're probably going to want to make a hire, very, very soon. So we'll see if he ends up taking that job, but that's probably a little bit down the line. He will, in all likelihood, be finishing out his duties with the Buffalo Bills this season, even if he does kind of get an agreement for that Penn State job. With that being said, that will do it. I know it was a loaded show. Threw a lot of information at you guys. If you want to talk more about it, you can hit me up on social media at Tyler J. Smith on Twitter. 2 H's because the name's common, but I am not. And make sure you're subscribed to the channel as well. YouTube.com/Bills News. We'll have more for you tomorrow. Trade videos are on the way as well because this team needs to improve. We'll see you guys in the next one. And as always, let's go, Buffalo.